Hi, everyone, and welcome to Talking About Talking, a special YouTube brought to you by the Speech Improvement Company based in Boston and also in Tampa, Florida. I am so delighted to have one of my favorite coaches on our team with us today, and pleased to welcome George Mattson, talking about, I know your favorite topic, which is language, how to use it in the right way. I think I'm going to be very conscious of my speech during this interview, George. So one phrase George made up, which I think is very intriguing, is the phrase fractured language, because fractured language sounds like that people are using language that something's wrong with, and I think I just made a mistake myself. But what is fractured language?
Well, I think it can be a number of things. It could be word usage or pronunciation, and most of it, I think, is word usage because when you check SAT results and things of that nature, we score like 17th and 18th in the world in terms of English skills. And I think,
wow. Wait a second. Let me see if I got this right.
Right.
You're saying that people in the United States are worse than people whose native language is not English in using English.
In their, even in using English, but what I meant more was in their own language, their own language skills. There are some third world countries that do better than we do.
Okay,
in their language skills. So I think part of this is that we, with the advent of television, the vocabularies have gone down because people as a hobby don't really read as much as they used to.
Absolutely not.
So with shrinking vocabularies, you tend to have this redundancy. So one of what I call a part of fractured language is this redundancy. And you'll hear it in well-educated places where you shouldn't, on network television and on publications that are major publications. So you hear things like past history. In fact, I have a number of doctors as clients, and I think I've convinced maybe two that it isn't the patient's past medical history. It's their medical history.
Right, okay. So why do people do that?
I don't know. I think it's just something that they have become accustomed to.
Okay,
so you can have ancient history, medieval history, Eastern history, Western history, but it's all past.
Right, you cannot have future history.
That's right. And then you get things like revert back. Does this go back? Okay. How many times do you hear? Revert means go back in Latin. So you don't say revert back to old adage, an adage is an old saying. So you don't need an old adage. And one of my favorites that I really hate, and in the past I have been a sales manager, and we got this sheet out from corporate that said your pre-planned activities for the week, who the salespeople were going to call on for the week. And so the first thing I did was cross out pre. These are your planned activities for the week. What is pre-planning? Are you staring out the window?
Okay, I want to get you on this one, because let's say I'm going to have a meeting, and I meet with other people before the meeting. Is that pre-planning?
No, you're planning the meeting then.
Okay.
I don't even know what pre-planning is, because it's one of those built-in things that is before something else. That's the plan, at least as far as I can see it. And then up is one of the most redundant words that we have. So it's, and there's a lot of, when you look it up in the dictionary, there's a lot of different meanings for it. But you have fix up the bicycle, slice up the bread, and my favorite is traffic is easing up on Route 95. I travel it all the time. Come on, levitate. I would love to see levitating traffic.
So don't use it?
So, no, don't use up. Traffic is easing. So you'll hear easing out, easing down, easing up. Forget it. It's just easing.
But, if something is used often enough, doesn't it become okay?
I wouldn't say so. I don't think you throw out rules just because it's used a lot. Now, this doesn't mean that it isn't a living language. It is. But I think there's certain times you can transgress good rules of grammar. They were set up to make it easier for us. And again, not that it doesn't evolve. But I think it's mostly because of some sort of shrinking vocabulary. Now, here's an example of what I heard just yesterday.
Okay.
And it was on a major network newscast, and they talked about two flus coinciding at the same time.
Oh.
You know, so it was just two
flus
coinciding. Yeah, two strains of flu coinciding at the same time. So just say two strains of flu are coinciding.
Okay.
You know, it means at the same time. So it's just unnecessary.
Ah, yeah. That must really get to you when you hear
it does. Anytime I can't shut it off, you know, it's one of those things you coach and teach speech for decades, just as yourself. I can't just shut it off.
Right. Now, have you always been like that? That's a good thing.
Pretty well. Yeah. In fact, my nickname when I was 10 years old was the professor.
And
it was then in a derogatory
fashion.
Is
the professor.
You know, right? But so I never outgrew that particular thing. And then I knew we were in some real trouble. There were two ones that really stuck in mind. And these were at major news stations, one in Boston and the other up in New Hampshire. And it's the one in Boston said, and they discovered some cancer-causing carcinogens. Now, it's either a cancer-causing agent or it's a carcinogen, but it's not a cancer-causing carcinogen. Sure, as you would.
Right.
You know, but they didn't bat an eye. And the news director should have picked this up, and certainly the newscasters should have themselves. So, and then I knew we were in enormous trouble when I heard this on the radio station in New Hampshire. We were reading the news, and they said the victim was fatally murdered.
Uh-oh.
So,
any other kind of murder, right?
Not that I know.
Am I getting good with this?
Unless you do, sure.
Yeah.
So we just have a tremendous amount of this type of thing.
I have a question. I know we should be on the listen out for this stuff. What can we do about it?
Maybe even tactfully repeat it so the person might get the message without you correcting the person or something like that. And having correct usage ourselves, I think we can set some sort of a model and a standard. But I think part of this goes with a philosophy that so often seems to be prevalent nowadays, that anything goes. You know, it's situation ethics. Anything is acceptable. And to me, anything is not acceptable. And there's guidelines and language to help clarity. And that's the key thing, I think, is clarity in language.
Beautiful. Well, you're definitely a role model for us, George. And always have been at the Speech Improvement Company. So it was wonderful having Professor and Coach George Mattson with us today on Talking About Talking. So join us next time.
Thank you, Lori.